Hey, what's going on, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I'm hearing a new rumor. Figured I'd bring it your way. Jay Crowder. Now, the thing about it is the trade tracker says that he's on a 1 year, $10 million deal. Listening to Ticket TV, he said he's on a 3 year, $30 million, $10 million a year. So either way, it slips in the same way, but I'm not sure how many years on that contract, to be honest with you. I just can't seem to find anything concrete. So $10 million one way or another, whether it's expiring or not. The thing about picking up Jay Crowder if you're the Lakers is we don't have a path to matching $10 million of salary. We're gonna have to incorporate other things in order to get that piece here. So what would likely happen is if we're going to incorporate Jay Crowder into what it is that we're going to do, he's probably going to be a part of a 3-team trade that would involve Russell Westbrook. Because that's the only easy path I see to matching that salary. Otherwise, we're giving up a combination of players that we have no business giving up in order to make that happen. We're talking Wenyen Gabriel, Max Christie, Austin Reeves, and Kendrick Nunn just to make the salary work. And if you think anybody on this channel is supporting that, you haven't been watching me at all. So ain't nobody doing that. But what you can do is, upon the time it's time to trade Russell Westbrook, maybe involve Phoenix and take that $10 million, slot it into the trade, and then have them delegate $10 million some other way to wherever Westbrook's headed. Probably be more than a 3-team trade. It'd probably be like a 4-team trade, to be honest with you. So, yeah, that's kind of how I see a path to us acquiring Jay Crowder. Look at it like this: if we talked about the Brooklyn Nets deal, for example, so like the way the salary matches for Brooklyn is if we were to say we get Kyrie Irving, um, we would also be still on tap to try to match $15 million worth of salary. So I can see an event like that where we put Phoenix on the phone call and just incorporate them into that trade. And instead of us taking that salary from the Nets, we can take it from Phoenix and then give Phoenix something, or have the Nets give Phoenix something that represents that money. So that's the way you get Crowder, in my opinion. That's how you do it. There ain't no other way to do it. So, like for example, if say Joe Harris is on the table with the Nets situation, Joe Harris then goes to Phoenix. We get Jay Crowder. That's exactly how something like that would play out in the trade scenario. So, all in all, I don't have a problem bringing in Jay Crowder because he's a win now piece. Veteran who's three. We obviously need threes. Defensive guy who can hit the three. That's obviously a good thing. Big body who you could probably play at the four now. As he gets older, he could probably slip in and kind of play some roles that would be for bigger players. And I look at what PJ Tucker does for the Philadelphia 76ers now, and I look at Jay Crowder and say he's like the other version of that. Well, I think of those two players as pretty much two peas in a pod, even though they don't necessarily have the same strengths at all or whatever, but they're in the exact same lane. Like, okay, we're thinking about Jay Crowder, we're thinking about the PJ Tucker. Those are the guys that you're thinking about first when you're considering bringing role players that can help you win a championship to your championship situation. Period. Those are the first two names probably come to mind for role players in my mind. So that's why I have them linked together like that. And I would imagine if you're trying to win it, you probably want one or both of those guys. So yeah, it'd be good for us to acquire Jay Crowder. I think the problem for me with Jay Crowder is just that I have an understanding of what his ceiling has always been. He's not going to overachieve. He's not going to do more than you asked him to do. He's going to do exactly what it is you expect him to do, and that is his level. And so, for what it is that we need him to do, we need him to be himself if he were to come here. Not overly athletic. He's not jumping out of the gym. Not overly fast. He's getting older, so there's a lot of different things there that make you say, okay, we might be a day or two away from him being not that guy anymore. So we need to be very careful not to get him too late. But my gut tells me you still got a good year, Jay Crowder, at least, to get something real out of him. Think Markieff Morris in 2020. He can give us that role. Didn't do a whole lot, but contributed to key defensive moments, key three-point shots, and we won a championship with him. So that's kind of the role that I would be looking at Jay Crowder to fill right now. Yeah, if we were to bring him in. At $10 million, love it. But then again, when we start considering if it's a 1-year deal and expires, it's not a big deal. As long as he can hit that three, play a little defense, be a loud voice in the locker room. That's really what we would need him to do. So yeah, that's not the worst thing in the world. Given that we're a win now team, I think that makes a lot of sense. So that's what the adjustment is of your mindset. Now, for me, if I were building a team and I'm thinking, okay, upside, and we're trying to get all kinds of value and all kinds of stuff, maybe I'm not looking at Jay Crowder. Maybe I'm trying to fill that roster spot with a younger player with more upside. Maybe I'm looking for a Josh Jackson or something like that. But given the fact that we're trying to win a championship this season, given the fact that we have all these different things that we're trying to accomplish in a short period of time, you do want as much stability with your role players as possible. And I think Jay Crowder is a guy that you can count on to be stable. You can definitely count on that. So, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I'm not in love with it. I'm not super in love with it. I'm always the guy that's looking for upside. I'm always the guy that wants the kids. But, I like the idea of what we're trying to do. We do need to get a small forward, at least one small forward, to kind of fit in rotation, because guys are playing out of position right now if we keep the team with our rotation as it is. So, yeah, that's how I see it. Just wanted to kind of touch base with you guys, let you know that I'm hearing about Jay Crowder possibly being on the move, period. Not just to the Lakers, but just in general. Phoenix is probably not the spot for him. And it's interesting to me because Phoenix is now considered a win-now team, just like they were last year. I think Phoenix is a situation where during the summer, with all the log jam kind of issues that we had with the trade market, Phoenix was one of those teams where until the last minute you thought they weren't going to be a contender. It looked as if they were about to not necessarily blow it up, but lose 8, which in some ways takes a lot away from them. They've already lost JaVale McGee, so you look at them as a team that's kind of lost some size, and didn't gain shooting, which is something that they really, really needed. So I think Phoenix, just by sheer nature, has taken some steps back, and so maybe they have a different mindset about how they're going about this season. But I look at the fact they still have Chris Paul, look at the fact they still have Devin Booker, and I say those guys obviously are playing for a championship this season. So Jay Crowder leaving the Phoenix Suns, it might be a little premature. I think, obviously, with everything that's going on with Robert Sarver, you don't expect the team to just have a smooth sailing NBA championship season. But the pieces that got them to being as good as they've been for the last 2 years are still in place. You just didn't think they would be. That's the dynamic there. So as we look at all these other teams that we thought were going to make changes, teams that we thought would be reimagined, teams that didn't get a chance to get complete, Phoenix is one of those teams that the opposite happened with them. You thought they was going to blow up, but actually they bring back the exact same team. So if they happen to win 55 games this year, I won't be surprised because they got the same squad. Now, did they have some weaknesses that made it so that they weren't a champion? Yes. But throughout the regular season, they destroyed everybody for 2 years straight. So I don't know that we should be kicking them down as far as we are in terms of where we expect Phoenix to be slated this season. Mikal Bridges, the most durable player in all of basketball, is still their small forward. Like I said, Devin Booker, Chris Paul still in place and healthy. DeAndre Ayton did, in fact, go back. And so that right there is a core of 4 players that has already been to the finals. You know what I mean? They've already been. So I'm not entirely certain that Phoenix isn't a team that's going to bounce back and be a heavily favored NBA contender this season. Even though I don't necessarily have them as that. They didn't lose anything that would make me just kick them out of that spot. So that's what it looks like. We're just going to wait until further notice in regards to Phoenix. They do need to address their shooting, though. They got to get some shooters, and they should be looking to get a Joe Harris. That's why it's funny that I said that, because if I'm Phoenix and I can flip Jay Crowder into Joe Harris or Seth Curry, I'm doing that. I'm doing that. So let that be something that's said right now. I think Phoenix definitely needs shooters just like the Lakers need shooters. And the fact of the matter is, if that trade scenario does come to pass down the way, if I'm Phoenix and the Lakers are talking about Jay Crowder, I'm definitely interested in trying to get one of them shooters out of Brooklyn. So I'm already thinking like that. That's kind of how that goes, man. It's kind of how that goes. A lot to look at. Phoenix Suns, I do think they're going to miss JaVale McGee a lot, but they still have Bismack Biyombo in place, and we know how well he's played since he's signed on with that squad. Aaron Holiday, I believe, is there. I want to see if they're going to give him a bigger role this year because I do believe that he's kind of stuck behind some guys. He doesn't necessarily have to be. He's a little better than that. Cameron Payne is somebody who's shown glimpses of being very, very good and took some big steps back last year in the playoffs. I want to see him get back to who he was when they went to the finals that year against Milwaukee, because that was a damn good version of himself, and I don't know where that player's gone. So these are the different things I'm looking at in regards to Phoenix. Obviously Devin Booker, you know what he's going to do. Just pencil him in for an all-star appearance. Chris Paul, if he's healthy, same thing. His game is always going to be as it is because it's not predicated on him being fast or nothing like that. It's all this. And so he's going to be able to do that as long as his body reacts well to the work. So, yeah, I think this is going to be another big year for those two. And then Ayton, settled. Now, a lot of times, guys get paid, and it has a bad effect on them. They get their money, and then they let their shoulders down. They stop working as hard. They don't care as much or whatever. So we're just going to have to see how Ayton reacts. Everybody's different. But with him being paid and settled, now we'll see if he reacts well to that and stays hungry, stays energetic. It's definitely gonna have major results for their team. But if he's if he takes some steps back, maybe gets comfortable, starts really enjoying the money more so, and takes the Anthony Davis approach, as I call it, kind of just relaxing, enjoying life a little more, it's gonna have a bad effect on that team. So he needs to stay hungry. Paid or not paid, you need to stay hungry. And always remember you're playing for that next contract too. So, if Ayton jumps back up and gets back to his level of play that we know, look out for the Phoenix Suns. They're not going away. All of those who think it's just a surefire understanding that the Phoenix Suns are not a contender, that's not what the evidence shows you. That's just not what their team looks like right now. They look like they're a contender who's lost a few pieces, but not the ones you need them to lose in order to not be a contender. So, yeah, that's what I think of the Phoenix Suns. Sneaky team, underrated team. They're gonna catch some people off guard. So that's pretty much what I gotta say, man. That is my little Phoenix take. Obviously we still keep our eyes open for Kevin Durant because we do not think on this channel that Kevin Durant is 100% sold on Brooklyn, and we know Phoenix was a team that he had on his list. Some would say the most reasonable place for him to go in some minds. So I would not rule that out. I know Brooklyn would probably want Devin Booker in the event something like that were to take place, and we know for a fact Phoenix has no interest in doing that. But that's where he wanted to be. So if for some reason he forces his way out of Brooklyn somewhere down the road, which I think is probably going to happen, I think Phoenix is still a place that you need to watch for Kevin Durant. And so that's just me talking. You ain't gonna hear none of the pundits say that. Nobody's saying anything like that but me. But I'm telling you, my mind ain't changed in regards to everything over there. So as long as there are still opportunities to see greener pastures in some of these other places, we're going to be paying attention to those other places. Phoenix doesn't look like the leading candidate to make something like that happen. But like I said, if he decides to force his way to that particular spot, then it don't matter what anybody thinks. So these are the type of things that cross our mind when we consider the Phoenix Suns. So that's what I got to say, man. That is pretty much the end of it. My name is BDF44. Thank you all for watching.